Chapter 5. We are warned as to the dangers of the baobabs. As each day passed, I would learn in our talk something about the Little Prince's planet, his departure from it, his journey. The information would come very slowly, as it might chance to fall from his thoughts. It was in this way that I heard on the third day about the catastrophe of the baobabs. This time, once more, I had a sheep to thank for it. For the little prince asked me abruptly, as if seized by a grave doubt. It is true, isn't it, that sheep eat little bushes? Yes, that's true. Ah, I am glad. I didn't understand why it was so important that sheep should eat little bushes, but the little prince added, then it follows that they also eat baobabs. I pointed out to the little prince that baobabs were not little bushes, but on the contrary, trees as big as castles, and that even if he took a whole herd of elephants away with him, the herd would not eat up one single baobab. The idea of the herd of elephants made the little prince laugh. He would have to put them one on top of the other, he said, but he made a wise comment. Before they grow so big, the baobab starts out by being little. That is strictly correct, I said. But why do you want the sheep to eat the little baobabs? He answered me at once, oh, come, come, as if he were speaking of something that was self-evident and was obligated to make a great mental effort to solve this problem without any assistance. Indeed, as I learned, there were on the planet where the little prince lived, as on all planets, good plants and bad plants. In consequence, there were good seeds from good plants and bad seeds from the bad plants. But seeds are invisible. They sleep deep in the heart of the earth's darkness until someone among them is seized with the desire to awaken. Then this little seed will stretch itself and begin, timidly at first, to push a charming little spring inoffensively upward toward the sun. If it's only a sprout out radish or the spring of a rose bush, one would let it grow wherever it might wish. But when it is a bad plant, one must destroy it as soon as possible. The very first instant one recognizes it. Now, there were some terrible seas on the planet that was the home of the little prince, and these were the seas of the baobab. The soil of the planet was infested with them. A baobab is something you will never be able to get rid of if you attend to it too late. It spreads over the entire planet. It bores clear through it with its roots, and if the planet is too small and the baobabs are too many, they split it in pieces. It's a question of discipline, the little prince said to me later on, When you have finished your own toilet in the morning, this then it's time to attend to the toilet of your planet. Just so, with the greatest care. You must see to it that you pull up regularly all the baobabs at very first moment when they can be distinguished from the rosebush, which they resemble so closely in their earliest youth. It's very tedious work, the little prince added, but very easy. And one day he said to me, "You ought to make a beautiful drawing so that the children where you live can exactly how all this is. That would be very useful to them if they were to travel someday." Sometimes, he added, there is no harm in putting off pieces of work until another day. But when it is a matter of baobabs, that always means a catastrophe. I knew a planet that was inhabited by a lazy man. He neglects three little bushes. So, as the little prince described it to me, I have made a drawing of that planet. I don't much like to take the tone of moralist, but the danger of the baobab is so little understood, and such considerable risk would be run by anyone who might get lost on an asteroid that for once I'm breaking through my reserve. Children, I say, I say plainly, watch out for the baobabs. My friends, like myself, have been skirting this danger for a long time without ever knowing it. And so it's for them that I have worked so hard over this drawing. The lesson which I passed on by this means is worth all the trouble it has cost to me. Perhaps you will ask me, why are there no other drawing in this book as magnificent and impressive as this drawing of the baobabs? The reply, the reply is simple. I have tried, but with the others I have not been successful. When I made the drawing of the baobabs, I was carried beyond myself by the inspiring force of arrogant necessity.